You can tell it's been ages because I literally spent, I want to say 5-10 minutes trying to figure out how lighting works in the winter when it's dark. Editing me, God love you, sis. Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel and happy 2024. It has been a hot minute since I filmed. 2023 was a bit of a roller coaster, not gonna lie. So I thought that for my first video of 2024 and starting off a new fresh chapter, we'll just do a little bit of a chat, a little bit of a recap, reflection on 2023 and what happened. The positives of last year, the challenges, the things I learned, and what I'm hoping is going to happen in 2024. So if you're down for that, then let's get into it. So firstly, positives of 2023. And I think this is important because positives are always great. And there were a lot of challenges in 2023, but I really want to make sure that I'm focusing on the good things that came out this year. Starting off with specifically acting work. The first good thing is that I worked quite a lot this year. I was kind of going from job to job to job. There were several points actually where I'd be in a job and then the next job would come through. Before August, basically, I had my whole year of acting work mapped out, which was great. Quite a lot of the jobs that I had this year weren't even like audition based. It was being invited to do projects with people that I'd worked with before. It's nice to feel validated of like, oh, people like working with me and think that I'm A, talented enough, and B, good enough to work with, that they want me back for their future projects. So that's always just really, really nice. But then also having stuff booked up, it just gives you so much peace of mind because you're not having to worry about where your next job is coming from, because it's like, I've got this booked in, and then like you can plan ahead. Another work positive thing this year is that another work positive thing last year is that I had, in terms of like credits or prestige, I had my biggest, most prestigious job. There isn't really a ladder in this profession. If you work as a performer, as an actor, you already know this. But for those of you who are not in the profession, there isn't really a ladder per se. Obviously there are like certain milestones where like once you get that caliber of job, you're kind of at that level and you're more likely to get more auditions or job offers at that level. But like it can really fluctuate depending on like what jobs come your way and what you're open to taking. But yeah, so this year I got a job with a really well-known famous director. It was a #1 tour working with some really prestigious actors as well, and you know, that's a really great thing to have on my CV. When I was talking to some of my castmates about it and we were talking about, I don't know how much of this I can actually say, like talking about different terms and contracts and stuff, because I was also equity deaf on this job. We'll get on that later. I was talking about how, oh, I get how the people playing these two characters would be at like a different caliber in like the hierarchy, but I would think that my character and the fourth character, it was a four-hander, would be more on a level, and the other person was like, no, I see it as like a three-hander of like you and the two guys, and then you guys are the leads, and then my character is like the supporting role. That's how I'd break it down. So it was like on a show that prestigious, that isn't kind of like a little fringy thing to be like, I'm playing arguably one of the leads. Like I was on stage pretty much the whole time. Yeah, I was on stage the whole time. That's amazing. I think there's a lot of reasons for this, and this isn't a me beating myself up, but like I don't think I was in a position to make the most of that opportunity in terms of like networking and like inviting people to see it as I could have done. You know, it is what it is, but just having that credit on my CV, no matter what happens with that project in the future, I think, you know, that is still a positive for this year. Last year, oh my God, last year, 2023. Another positive from last year, which I touched on, is that I was an equity dep for the first time. I actually do want to do a video about being equity dep. I doubt it will do well, but if there are any actors watching this, like UK based actors who have thought about equity dep or have been like, oh, what's that? I want to do a video about what it is, what you do, what the job entails, so stay tuned for that. But yeah, it's something that I'd been thinking about for a while. It's something that in a previous job I'd thought about, but by the time I had a chance to properly think about it, another person was voted in as equity dep, and then I regretted that I didn't just jump in and was like, I'm thinking about doing it, so if someone can help me, I'll do it, I guess. I knew that we were going to have an equity meeting at some point. I was like, I would be really interested in taking on this role because I feel really strongly that it would be a good thing for me to do. I wanted to have that experience. So I got to do that, and it was a lot of work, but I'm really, really glad I did it, and I got to learn a bit more about not even just how our union works, but like contracts and things. It gave me more of an insight into the kind of things that you need to double check. I found it really fulfilling and rewarding being able to be an advocate for not only myself but the whole of the company. I'm really glad that I did that and I have that experience, and it's something that I would definitely consider doing again. But yeah, I'll talk about that more in a future video. What else? What else was a positive? The last kind of work positive that I want to talk about is the connections that I made this year. I feel like this year, some of it was definitely bonding through difficult circumstances, but I feel like I really was in a position to open myself up to kind of stronger connections within cast and company members. And that's something, kind of jumping the gun a little bit here, but moving into 2024, I really want to foster some of the relationships that I made within the jobs I had this year. There are definitely connections that I want to maintain, which historically I've always been bad at, and this is something from like when I was a teenager. I've always been bad at keeping in touch with people, and that's just some inner work that I have to do of being like, maybe people do want to hear from me, maybe that's a thing. This year I've really appreciated finding the support and the community that you need when things are getting difficult, whether that's difficult within a company or just difficult because you're freaking ill. Positives that are more kind of personal, definitely this year doing a lot of introspection. Next year, this year, last year, oh my goodness. I'm getting so confused. In 2023, if you've watched my incredibly long, but it's got timestamps, so don't even worry about it, video about The Artist Way. I redid The Artist Way last year, and that started, you know, a self-discovery journey, specifically in the more spiritual aspect. For me, spirituality is something very, very personal, so I won't be going into details about that, but that journey that started is kind of still ongoing, and I'm finding really helpful at the moment. So that's a kind of positive to be continued. Also, Josh doesn't know I'm filming this video, so I'm not going to go into too much detail, but me and Josh have been working a lot on our relationship, and I think it's made our relationship even stronger, so that's obviously a positive. Anything else from this year that is a major positive? Personally, we didn't have to move out of this place. Yeah, that was a drama. That was just, when you're in full-time rehearsals, that is not what you need. Is like, oh, we might have to move out. Like, the downside of that is rent increase, but didn't have the expense of moving, so that's a positive. And also another positive is just feeling like Josh and I did a lot of hosting this year, like hosting for both of our birthdays. We hosted New Year's this year, which was really, really fun. We played games. I maybe got a little bit competitive, but it was fun. Feeling like we're moving more into adulthood was definitely a positive of 2023. Like, we still have a long way to go. I don't feel like a proper adult. I don't want to be a proper adult. But yeah, those are some of the positives from 2023. I'm already praying for editing me, because this video feels really rambly and I don't know if I'm gonna be able to edit it into something coherent. Let's move on to challenges and lessons. I don't want to say negatives because whilst I've always been skeptical of like the whole, you know, things happen for a reason. I don't think things happen for a reason, but I think the things that happen, we can choose to take lessons from them, maybe. So that's how I'm gonna frame it anyway. It seems like a more positive framing, and you know, the stories we tell ourselves hold power. So there we go. Starting off with work challenges. I'm laughing because I'm gonna have to be really careful with my words. But a big challenge and a big lesson that I had from this year is, how do I want to phrase this? Making sure that when entering a project, asking all of the right questions, asking questions in general. There were definitely situations on jobs this year where, because it's partly to do with like my own conditioning of not being conditioned to expect my voice to not be heard, or not being conditioned to expect people to have not done all of the work that they should have done in making sure that a space is inclusive and open, and that checks and balances are put in place for those things, and that like proper procedures are followed. You know, never being in a situation where those things, like I'd have to worry about those things. And then even in situations where, because I'm sure professionally I've been in situations where that's been the case, but it's never blown up to the point where it's like, oh, this stuff wasn't in place, you know? So definitely from the get, making sure that if there's a situation where it's like, if things aren't in place, this will be an issue, asking those questions at the audition stage or at the interview stage, or like even at the offer stage, because it's hard to be like in audition being like, have you got any questions? Like, yes, will you have X, Y, and Z in place? What is your, you know, you don't necessarily feel like you want to go to that place, but at least when the offer comes through, being like, okay, I want to make sure I know exactly what I'm getting into, I guess, so that I can make an informed decision about a project, as informed as I can. That's definitely a lesson that I'm going to take forward. And it's a lesson that sucks because I guess it's with anything, right? You assume that people have the same awareness and the same, like, are just on the same page as you would be when it comes to a project and the people that you're hiring. And yeah, this year I learned the hard way that that is not the case. So that's definitely a lesson that I'll be taking forward. Another lesson from 2023 is to listen to my body and to listen to my intuition and my instincts. I'm notoriously bad at this. And as a side note to that, to help with that, making notes of everything. Definitely with one of my jobs, I was in a situation where I was advised by my agent to like note everything down, and going back through and writing down everything helped me see moments where I explained away what I was feeling, but then with the information of everything, I was able to look at that objectively and be like, no, something else was going on here. Yeah, writing everything down and listening to my body, listening to my intuition, and really tuning into that. So even if I don't know exactly what it is I'm sensing, I know that I'm sensing something, and not just chalking it up to, oh, this is my problem that I'm feeling this way. It's something going on with me and I just need to like get over it. I guess the positive that came out of that is, once I knew what was happening, I'm really proud of the strength that I showed dealing with the situation that led to those challenges and lessons. I'm really proud of myself for that. And I think if I hadn't have shown that strength at the times that I did, I think I don't want to say I would be ashamed of myself, because that's a very strong judgment of a potential future self, which in this timeline doesn't exist. But you know, I think I would feel regret. I wouldn't feel as strong as I do. I mean, I don't feel strong, but and it's funny when you're being strong in those situations, it doesn't feel like strength. It feels like, well, this is what we have to do. This is what I have to do because it's fair and equitable, and I couldn't look myself in the mirror if I didn't do this. But yeah, that's a positive from last year that I think I have, and I need to keep hold of, that I did that, and that, you know, I'm aware of those lessons that I've learned from that experience and that I can take them forward. And now it's just a case of making sure that I take them forward. What else? That got deep. Again, kind of listening to your intuition, but like looking after yourself on jobs. This year was the first time ever in my professional career that I haven't been able to perform because of sickness. I had to miss a show because literally at the half-hour call I threw up, having like the show before, 2-show day, the show before having had to alter my Act 2 track because I literally just like crashed and was burning up, and my stage manager literally saying like, if I say you can't go on, that overrides everything. Me being like, are you telling me I have to go home? And they were like, no, but just so you know. And then I was like, I feel sick. And they were like you're going to be sick? And I was like, no, actually, them was sick. And I was like, yeah, I'm gonna leave. I'm just gonna, In hindsight, I should have called it earlier than I did. And to be fair, in the shows after that, like I could have pushed to be like, I'm gonna go and do my full track, but I deliberately said, no, I know I have to get through to 2 shows and it's not fair on me to say, I'm gonna do everything and then get to the interval and be like, I can't do everything. So I deliberately did less than in my body I felt I could do, because it's very easy to be like, yeah, we're just gonna push through, the show must go on. I mean, this could be a whole separate video. I think the show must go on mentality in some ways is admirable. You know, that tenacity and that diligence is not something to be sniffed at. But sometimes you've got to know when the show doesn't need to go on with you in it. Someone else can make the show go on, which is what had to happen, and that's okay. I guess we'll get onto this into more of the reflective side, but like, yeah, finding that balance of finding meaning and importance in your job, but also knowing that it is not the end of the world. And I think that's a balance that, whether you're a professional performer or you're an amateur performer, it can be really hard to find that balance, because we do what we do because we love it, right? And so to us, it is so important and so rewarding and so fulfilling. It can be hard to, I guess, contextualize, that's not the word I'm looking for, to put it in perspective, that's it, to put what we do in perspective. That was the word I was looking for. So yeah, that was another lesson that was learnt. Oh dear. Let's get into kind of general reflections. I'm also aware that my voice is going into creak a lot, and I hate that about myself, but also perfection is the enemy of done. We haven't done a vocal warm-up before filming. That's okay. Yeah, let's talk about reflections of the year. Just kind of general musings. Sorry, I just got the muses from Hercules in my head, like do. We are the muses, even though that's a completely different thing, but you know what I mean. Yeah, so the first thing I've got on my notes is feeling stuck. Even though this year I have had a great time in terms of working consistently, basically going from job to job to job to job, which so happy, so blessed. I've also been feeling disconnected with why I do what I do. And I think part of that is, this is actually going to go into it next week. Yeah, this is all in one big thing. It's musings. We're just going to flip it all together. There's 3 different facets of the stuckness. The feeling of disconnection, which started in COVID and has just kind of continued on. And it's kind of this weird double-edged sword, because obviously like working a lot has been great. Like I got back into work, as in like theatre work, really quickly after things started opening up again. Like I'm in a really blessed position. But the other side of that coin is, because it's been like, oh, you're getting work, and it's like, yeah, and like wanting to take things and build momentum back up, is that I feel like I haven't had a chance to really think about, what do I want out of my career, what I wanted pre-COVID, I don't feel as connected to anymore, and I'll get onto specifics of that in a sec. During COVID, I didn't think about theatre at all. I was literally just like, the world is burning, I'm just gonna learn Spanish and do bullet journal stuff and make lots of YouTube videos. That was me during COVID. And then getting back into things is like, we're working, and whilst in the short term, I have been, when I've had choices to make, going with what's gonna bring me joy, what am I gonna learn from, what's gonna pay. I think I've made a video about that. I'll link it above if I have. I haven't had a chance to really think on the macro scale of like, okay, what do I want now? Like that kind of like 3-year, 5-year plan stuff, right? To really think about what I actually want. And I felt really disconnected from like, why am I doing what I'm doing? Like, I know I enjoy it, I know I love it, I know intellectually that there is value in art and theatre and stories. I believe wholeheartedly in the power of stories, but when it comes to that from a career standpoint, okay, Michaela the actor, what do you want your career to look like? I don't really know anymore, and I haven't really had a chance to think about that, and more I'm like, I need to figure that out, especially as we're getting into more adulty stuff and me and Josh are talking more about the future, and it's like, we're past COVID far enough now that I need to figure out what I want, so I'm not just coasting through my career, which like is working okay for me so far. Like, I'm getting work. It's not like I'm coasting but I'm not auditioning and not working, and you know, I haven't had an audition in like a year, but it's still like, I want to make sure that as well as making intentional decisions about the work I do on a case-by-case basis, on a project-by-project basis, I'm also being intentional in what am I working towards, kind of thing. And I think that also bleeds into the fact, even things kind of more on the periphery, so theatre arts but not acting, like writing. After finishing my DYCP, which I got the funding for that, I made a video of how I went about it. If you are interested, is that side, what am I talking about? Yeah, writing has just done a complete nosedive, and like, I've been working a lot acting, so like, I get it. I'm not, this isn't a I'm beating myself up kind of thing, but it's also that thing of like, I need to figure that out. I need to have time to introspect, and I just haven't had that time in 2023. And then the last thing, again, kind of feeling that disconnection and kind of going back to feeling disconnected to what was driving me pre-COVID. I'm feeling really disillusioned with musical theatre at the moment. And I don't mean musical theatre as in the medium. I love musicals, I love musical theatre. I love the power that good musical theatre has to tell a story. But in terms of the industry, I'm feeling really disillusioned. I just feel like more and more, at least at the moment right now, especially commercial, musical theatre there's not a place for me. And if you're a professional performer, you will understand this, of like, in the industry, there are trends, you know, the trends in the type of musicals that come in, whether they're more dancey or more actor-singer, or now with quadruple threats like actor-muso, there's trends in the types of voices that they want. And so it's kind of hard where you're like, there's a medium that you love so much, and you're like, I can't seem to break into that. Like, I'll audition and I'll get quite far, but it never works out. That opens up the whole question, and this is something that I just have to like figure out for myself. I like, when thinking about this video, I kind of started thinking about it, but I need to think about it more. Do I keep my love of musical theatre intrinsic, so like carry on having singing lessons when I can afford them, keeping up my training in that thing so that if things come back around, you know, I'm ready to take that thing? Or do I look at it more strategically of being like, what does musical theatre want? And then how do I make myself what musical theatre wants, by hook or by crook, as much as like my time and money will allow? There's also the third option of, do I, as non-cynically as possible, get myself a somewhat TV and film career so I can swoop back in and then basically be the celebrity casting? That's something where it's like, I need to figure out what I want out of my career, because I wouldn't want to just go to TV and film just purely to be able to like then be a lead on the West End. That feels so disingenuous. Also, if I was gonna do that, at that point it's like, well, Josh, we need to like temporarily break up so I can go on Love Island or something, which like I wouldn't want to do. Like, I'm not going on Love Island, that's just, ugh. But then it's like, well, like legitimately, having some sort of screen career wouldn't hurt this career, so maybe I should look into, is there anything of interest on that side of the industry? But then it's like, I need time to introspect and be like, okay, let's go watch some things and see if any of this is floating my boat. Like, is there anything that excites me? Is there anything that I want to do? Because like, I just don't have a taste for TV and film. And then there's just like lots of other aspects of the industry, like voiceover work, video game work, mocap, like there's so much stuff. But I need to think about what it is that I want and what's gonna make me happy. And this has just gone on a whole ramble, but like I've realized more than ever in 2023 that that is the thing that I need to answer. That is the thing that I need to figure out. And I haven't had time to do it in 2023, so I'm going to make sure I make the time in 2024, which sets us on to our final section. Looking forward to 2024. In the immediate, I am taking January mostly to rest. My next job does start next week. At the time I'm filming this, it starts in 5 days and a few hours. Even though I'll be working, I'm actually really looking forward to that. And I think it will be work, but it will be restful work, if that makes sense. And then obviously at some point I'm gonna have to, you know, work with the resting jobs. So it's not gonna be taking January to rest as in I'm literally doing nothing because I can't afford to do that, but I'm taking January to rest as much as my obligations will allow, to recuperate. There are a lot of kind of traditional ways of viewing the cycle of the seasons in the year. That's like winter, both like literally and symbolically, is a time for rest. It's a time for recuperation. You know, it's a time of darkness, of looking inward. You never get to do that in December because A, Christmas and New Year's, and B, being an actor, you're usually working. So definitely using January as the time to really lean into, we're recuperating. I am gonna start on some of my resolutions, but it's literally coming from a place of what do I want to like recoup my body. I want to start a regular exercise regime, for example, but I'm not gonna be pushing. This isn't about, yeah, new year, new me, let's hit the ground running, blah, blah, blah. It's about, I'm just gonna focus on the fact that I want to move my body more. So we're gonna move our body in a way that's joyful, in a way that's kind, so that when February rolls around and things start getting a bit warmer and a bit brighter, we can start being like, okay, so now's the time, as we're getting into spring, to like start hitting the ground running. So that's in the immediate 2024. In terms of like general 2024, as I've already alluded to in the reflections bit, just taking the time to think about, and especially like January, this early part of the year, doing that introspection of like, what do I want for my career? Maybe do some like vision boarding, maybe, you know, journaling about stuff, really trying to figure out, okay, what is it that I want? You know, have a chat with my agent and be like, look, I've been doing some introspection, this is how I'm feeling, how do we make this happen? What are we doing? So just so they know what page I'm on as well. And then general stuff that's happening in 2024. Again, haven't spoken to Josh before filming this video, but like we have some exciting things coming up, kind of big milestones, big milestone things. The other thing that I really want to use 2024, kind of alongside the reconnection with work and career and stuff, is trying to foster a more holistic relationship with like the practical elements of being a performer. Fostering a more holistic relationship with the craft of writing, with singing practice, with ukulele practice. I feel like I've always historically had a difficulty with maintaining, you know, practicing habits. And so I feel like I can see those practical performing skills as something that's very much work related, which is ludicrous because whenever I sing or play music or anything like that, like it makes me feel better. Like I love doing it, but I think I've just got it in my head of like, that's my job. So I sing for my job. for example. So I really want to work with creating a more holistic relationship to those things. And other things as well, like Spanish. Spanish didn't completely fall by the wayside, but like I didn't get as far as I wanted to. Like I did read more than the number of Spanish books I wanted to read, as in like actual physical books. I wanted to be at a B2 level, and I'm not. I think that's purely speaking. I cannot speak at a B2 level. I am not conversationally fluent. I don't know if that's so much a problem with holistic stuff, or just, you know, a little bit being lazy, of being like, I'm using all of my energy on these other things, and so reading in Spanish is hard. I'm not gonna do it, whereas I just need to like shut up and read in Spanish. Even if I have a reading session and like I only comprehend like 30% of it, that's better than me not doing the hard thing that's actually gonna improve my Spanish. That was a complete tangent to what I was just talking about. I don't think I'm gonna like settle fully on resolutions until February. There are some things that I definitely want to do, like that I've already mentioned, like moving my body more. It's never too late, but like I probably won't do it for January, but I'm thinking maybe I'll reprise 100 days of practice on Instagram. I might do 100 days of writing. I might change them to 30 days. I definitely want to do 28 plays later in February. At the moment, I don't have a job in February, because the last time I tried it was not last year, the year before, and I was on tour and I failed because I had no time. Whereas I think February, at the moment, I don't have anything booked in. So yeah, I want to try and complete 28 plays later this February. I wonder if they'll do 29 because it's a leap year. I don't know. Yeah, that's kind of my plan so far for 2024. I guess maybe you want to know about my plans for this channel, but I literally hadn't thought about that. Oh, one of the things that I have been thinking about, again, not making any promises, this is now me just spitballing, but like I've been watching lots of shorts on YouTube that are like ballet people. I don't know why. But one of the things that I don't really watch them so much, but I've seen them pop up, is like mini like short vlogs of like day in the life of a ballerina doing the Nutcracker. I've said before in videos, some of which made it onto the internet, some of which didn't, that I feel awkward about like full-on vlogging when I'm doing shows, but I'm wondering if shorts is the way to go with that, because then if I am in a show and I can't do a full-blown video, I can at least do some like shorter form, like short / reels / TikToks, but not on TikToks, because I'm not going on TikTok. I'm sorry, I'm not doing it. Where I can kind of show you a bit of a day in the life, because I'm not like full on filming people. You can like get short clips that don't get in the way of everyone else. So yeah, I think maybe that's something that I might look into. And also taking January to kind of brainstorm some video ideas for you guys. So if there's anything specific that you would like, then do let me know in the comments. Everything's kind of up for grabs at the moment. I do already have some ideas of videos from things that came up last year that I was like, this would be useful, like the equity depth thing. So yeah, I have some ideas brewing, but if there's anything else you want to see, let me know. Yeah, so that's it for this video. Happy 2024. I hope this year brings you lots of joy and blessings and good times. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please that's not a word. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please consider liking and subscribing. Would love to have you on the channel. Come on down. We have a great time talking about stuff. It's usually theatre. Yeah, be good to have you. Stay tuned for more theatre content from a UK perspective, and I will see you all in my next video. Bye friends.